Hi Jamaica, welcome to another episode in our series, Centrally Speaking, your favorite TV program.
You better know. Centrally Speaking is the program that opens up the conversation around important matters of economics and finance, matters of national importance that have an impact on your life. And you know what is one of those topics? It's International Anna Week.
So Anna, you are celebrating your birthday all of this week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
So where you give me?
I can't tell you.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
It's
want
a
something
good thing
extra.
it's a good, you know.
Want something extra past Sunday.
It's a good thing we're talking about, viewers, we're talking about tax today. And it's a good thing we're talking about tax. I can't tell Jamaica what I'm giving you, don't worry yourself, and I'll give you a nice to give.
Oh, good. But Sheena,
Yep.
you see that lady there?
The nurse?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Just take your remote and I watch Centrally Speaking.
Hi, nurse.
On our break. Hi. I watch the security girl.
Oh my gosh, and watch the hairdresser.
Oh my God.
Is that Jillian?
Watch
Jillian, I
her.
see you.
All the people, they are work late.
Yeah.
And that's tuning to Centrally Speaking. Big up, Uno.
We appreciate you.
Thank you. All right, everybody who eat them Sunday, Monday, understand how that thing they go.
But Anna have a thing for Sunday morning.
Oh,
now.
yeah. And them time the food tastes good now.
Yeah, well soaked.
But you know what come first, right?
Street check.
That's right.
What's one blind feature on the new $500 note?
Blind feature? Me never had notice, you know.
I never like them call them easy for last. You see me, I put them in my pocket and them just roll out back like a lasket. You see me, I say?
I haven't received any as yet.
The blind feature? Well, like I said, I don't know because I don't look at all of the money.
Well, to be honest, I'm not so sure.
I'm not sure if it's a $500 note, but there's like a circle on top of one of them.
It's an X. The $500 notes has an X.
Oh, it's an X. Okay.
Now, joining us is Mr. Ainsley Powell, Commissioner General of Tax Administration, Jamaica.
So Ainsley, welcome to the program.
Okay, thank you and thanks for having me.
Yes. So, as succinctly as possible, share with us and our viewers what are the roles and responsibilities of the TAJ?
Okay. The roles and responsibility of TAJ is primarily to collect domestic taxes.
Okay.
And we also collect on behalf of the government service a myriad of fees. So you'll notice that we will have persons in the office paying a wide range of fees, from exam fees to property tax, income tax, GCT. We have the responsibility to ensure that the tax system remains fair and also and equitable. We also have the responsibility to ensure that customers are served well and find paying their taxes as easy as possible.
So, Commissioner, truth be told, you know, so when I like pay tax though, not the only thing. So tell us why, directly, talk to us straight, why we need to pay taxes.
Well, if you think about it, when you look at the needs of our country, there's the need for collective financing of critical services, health, education, roads, water, electricity in some instances. And therefore, when we pay our taxes, it is towards those services that are offered by government. It is therefore critical for us to really get on board and pay, our fair share. And that's where we come in to ensure that persons are not just forced to pay, but would have a sense of fairness to pay the taxes that they are due to pay.
So there are a myriad of ways. I know, we all know, there are a number of ways that you collect taxes.
Yes.
Right? So two of which are the progressive system and the regressive system, right?
Yes.
All right, so share with us, just elaborate for us and our viewers what those two entail.
Okay. All right, to put it as simply as possible, the progressive tax system is really about a higher portion of tax as the income increases. And if you look at the income tax that we have in Jamaica, it is a progressive rate.
Okay.
So your first 1,500,096 is at a rate of tax 0. We normally refer to it as the nil rate,
Okay.
and persons have referred to it as the threshold. and see it as an exemption, but it's not really a true exemption. What it really is a tax at zero rate.
Okay.
And then up to 6 million.
Tax
Sorry?
at zero rate?
Yes.
Can you just explain that?
Okay. So we are normally accustomed, well, prior to 1987, we were accustomed to have a tax rate of greater than 1. So, 10%, 20%, for example. But this new method that was introduced actually calculates the tax on the first 1.5, as we refer to it, at 0%.
Okay.
So any income within that band, you multiply that by 0, so the tax will be 0.
Okay.
And then up to 6 million, you will pay 25, and above 6 million, you will pay 30%.
Okay.
On the regressive side, you're talking about now it's likely the burden of tax will be higher on the lower income levels. And you tend to find that happening with indirect taxes.
Oh.
And if you look at the GCT, it does have that impact. And that's where you get the introduction of things like exemption on certain goods and services that are heavily consumed by lower income groups.
Okay.
So you'll get things such as food items, rice, flour, salt, fish, etc., at those at a lower rate or 0 rate to avoid the burden of tax being high on groups with lower income.
Okay.
Okay, so in light of what you just said, in terms of the burden of tax, would you say Jamaica's tax system is fair? Meaning, do middle income, lower income, high income, do they pay their fair share relatively?
Well, it's fair in the sense that its imposition tries to reach that point of equity and fairness. And if you look at, as I said earlier, with the GCT, it has in it a set of rules that try to minimize the impact on lower income groups. The burden and the fairness of paying, that's where you'll have now the issue of dealing with compliance. And how do you get persons to comply, right? So if you look at our compliance numbers, for instance, you'll find that around 80% of the tax is paid by mainly large companies and large individuals, and the rest by the lower income groups. But it is of...
When you say large individuals?
Meaning persons who are in the
high income bracket.
High income bracket,
okay.
Maybe $1 billion, 500 million, right? So remember, you have individuals, you have individuals who are in business and not necessarily body corporates.
Okay.
Right, so you'll have that in the space. And 1 or 2 individuals may have that kind of income.
All right, so what is being done by TAJ to make the tax system a little simpler to understand and simpler to process on both the taxpayer's part and even on your part as the administrator?
All right. So one of the things that we try to do is that when you're having any new tax rules or laws, you tend to try to make them as simple and less complex as possible for persons to understand. And we will do that by ensuring that you remove some of the heavy calculations and requirement rules, etc. We have also tried to educate taxpayers as much as we can. So we do programs from school level to business level.
Okay.
So we have a school program that we will go to the schools, give them the necessary support and education on what is the tax requirements of them, and just to give them the basics and the fundamentals. We also work with taxpayers by our taxpayer education and service units to come in to businesses, educate them on the needs. When we have new legislation, we will run seminars, workshops, etc., for persons to understand what is required.
So Ainsley, how would you summarize Jamaica's tax system?
The tax system in Jamaica could be summarized as having a mix of progressive and regressive taxes, and we tend to find the balance to offset the ills of each.
Okay.
And as I mentioned earlier, the GCT has the introduction of exemptions and 0 rates on certain goods and items, specifically intended to relieve the burden of taxes on persons at a lower income level.
Okay.
We have a lot more questions about the taxation process in Jamaica, but it's time for a break. More when we return.
Introducing the new $2,000 note. The new $2,000 note was created to help bridge the gap between the $1,000 and $5,000 notes. With the introduction of the $2,000 note alongside the $1,000 and $5,000 notes, fewer notes will be required to settle transactions. For example, instead of using 4 $1,000 notes to settle a transaction of $4,000, an individual could use just 2 notes, a combination of 2 of the new $2,000 notes. This substitution effect will lead to less reliance on the heavily demanded $1,000 bill, as well as generate cost savings for the bank over time.
Welcome back to Centrally Speaking. Our guest today is Ainsley Powell, Commissioner General of Tax Administration Jamaica. So, Commissioner, ordinary citizens, PAYE, like me, how can we easily calculate our taxes, or do we even need to?
Okay, well, if you look at the PAYE system, it's an elaborate withholding tax system.
Very.
And what really happens is that you try to shift some of the responsibilities to the employer.
Okay.
So we ensure that the employers are very much aware as to how to calculate the tax, to calculate the amount on which you apply the tax rates. But for ordinary citizens, if you wish, on our website, we'll outline how that is done. It's probably a fairly easy system in the sense that you have your gross income and you're allowed certain deductions, and deductions such as the NIS and superannuation, and you calculate the tax on the difference. So it's not very complex, but if you need that kind of guidance, it's on the website. You can call our tax helpline and they will also guide you through it.
All right, so we spoke about PAYE, but on the other hand, tell us a little bit about persons who are self-employed. How do they pay their taxes? Is it monthly? Is it annually?
Okay. All right, self-employed persons are required to file an annual return.
Okay.
And upon filing an annual return, they're also required to file an estimated income tax return. The estimated income tax return is where you'll take the income from the previous year and you break it up in 4 equal installments. And so March 15, you'll pay the first quarter for each year, September 2nd, and you'll pay the 3rd in December, and finally in March, you'll pay the final.
Okay.
And that goes as a credit against your final tax when you calculate it.
Okay.
Would you say businesses, especially small businesses, even though you said that the information is on the website, how you calculate and so on, do you think that, especially for small businesses, do they need an accountant to wade through the jungle of taxation?
It could require someone with some knowledge, but good bookkeeping is a key, and record keeping for businesses. And that is the information that we'll use to determine your actual expenses, how you actually group them, so to speak, for your expenses can have some issues there. And sometimes it needs some professional help to do it. You have variety of businesses, and so sometimes you find complexity coming out of the nature of the business. So your typical goods, sale of goods, grocery shop will have probably in it, some simplicity in that, you buy your stock and you have your expenses, electricity, water, etc., rent, if you do that. But in other instances, it can become complicated. So it depends on the type of business you have.
All right, so today transparency is a buzzword, and we want to understand how or what mechanisms are being put in place by TAJ to ensure that your processes generally are transparent and fair.
Well, transparency is key on our side. We are aware that persons have some doubts about a lot of things and fairness in application of the tax. And when we did the Tax Administration Jamaica Act, one of the requirements in it is for us to have practice notes and rulings. And we are on a path now to put those into that space. Some of the rulings and practices that we're putting out is things like, okay, I have the authority in the law to give relief on interest payment, for instance. So we need to have a standard set of rules. It's clear to everyone that if certain circumstances occur, then we'll probably give 20%, 50%, 80% relief on that interest. And those are the things that would now help everyone to see that it's there and it's applicable, right? So you don't want persons to have that privilege because they may have been aware of another case.
Okay.
So we try to do it as much as possible as a strict policy guideline, because I can't use a particular case as an example and put that in that space. So I have to go to the fundamental principles and make that available to the public.
I'm curious, Commissioner, as to Jamaica's compliance rate in paying taxes. How do we measure up against our international standards?
Well, we have a self-assessment system, and therefore it has a high level of volunteerism in it. So when we look at the person that we have, we're running at approximately about 90%. International, yes.
Okay. Really?
For the person that we have on our tax roll.
That's good.
Yeah.
Not a bad, Commissioner.
Yeah, that's very good.
Not a bad.
Some might be late, but in essence, we have a very high compliance rate, yes. And you're looking at internationally on a basis of 77%. It's one of those topics that is very problematic to discuss, because people look at the population at large and then try to fit it into that. But in many instances, it comes down to we starting point, who we have registered.
Oh,
and then we work to improve our registration.
So it's not a percentage of the population, but the number of persons you have to register to pay taxes. Yes. But even then, 90% is a good number. You pass, you get A.
All right, so Ainsley, you're at 90%. Are there measures being put in place to ensure 100% compliance?
Yes, we do have. We do a national compliance plan that looks at registration compliance, payment compliance, accuracy compliance, filing compliance. And what we do is that we also have a unit that deals with risk assessment to look broadly across the spectrum, industries, individuals, to see who should be registered. And we utilize provisions in the law that allows us to get third-party information. And we'll use that information and do an analysis of it. So we also have from government entities information that we have. I remember we are also repository for a lot of information, motor vehicle registrations, licensing, customs information is there. And we use that to drive our registration process. So we want to be more risk-based with it. Therefore, when we ask someone to file, because we think they ought to register, we have sufficient information that they ought to. Not merely because they are an individual citizen in Jamaica in the space, but rather we have some information to indicate that this person should be on the tax roll.
So it's joining up all that bits and pieces.
Yes.
Okay.
And there are other things that drives it too. So we're seeing a lot of registration for NHT. And remember, they have programs for housing for persons below the threshold.
So you know where we live too.
So person.
Actually.
Right. So persons will, we get a lot of volunteer persons coming on also.
Okay. I just want to say thanks for sharing with us all things tax. And viewers, there you have it. Mr. Ainsley Powell, Commissioner General, Tax Administration of Jamaica.
And from Ainsley Powell, Commissioner of the Tax Administration Jamaica, let's go to a break.
Jamaica's currency has a fresh new look. Introducing the new $50 note. The new $100 note. The new $500 note. The new $1,000 note. The new $2,000 note. The new $5,000 note. Jamaica's new banknotes, modern, more secure, and made to last.
Today we spoke with Ainsley Powell, Commissioner General of the Tax Administration of Jamaica. So, let's recap the conversation. It's time for Fast Facts. Number 1, the role and function of TAJ. This includes ensuring effective communication of revenue measures and using various platforms to promote new and improved services. Secondly, auditing, assessing, and collecting domestic tax. Thirdly, promoting voluntary compliance through various service channels and educational programs. And lastly, establishing a fair and equitable tax system. Number 2, the progressive tax system involves taking a higher proportion of income from high-income earners. So Jamaica's income tax system is an example, with tax rates at 25% and 30%. Number 3, PAYE is withholding tax, where employers are responsible for calculating and paying over the taxes for their employees. The TAJ website has a PAYE tax calculator. Number 4, self-employed individuals are required to file their annual income tax and estimated income tax returns for the subsequent year. And number 5, the tax compliance rate in Jamaica is about 90% when compared to international compliance rates of 77%. And that's it for our Fast Facts.
Can you believe it? That's it for the program this week.
Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Central Bank JA and also on Instagram. You can also visit our website at www.boj.org.jm. Jamaica, lean in a little closer. Please, I'm begging to send your questions on Twitter. We want something for answer. Okay, thank you. And of course, tune in to Centrally Speaking again next week at the same time right here on your station when we will have another special guest.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Sheena.
Thanks for watching.
Centrally Speaking is a production of Bank of Jamaica.